Hello, everyone. How are you? Welcome to episode 441 of the No Sugarcoating Podcast. I'm so blessed and grateful to be here with you this week again. It's funny because right before I come to record this, I was having lunch and I honestly was like, I'm not yet sure what the topic is going to be. But I always sit because some whatever is meant to be, the download comes through whether it's 5 minutes before I record or comes through like a week before I record. Because I'm really sharing from heart. Yes, sometimes there's more factual stuff and I'll have some notes, but it's really from heart. And today's episode is really from heart. We're going into the woo, we're going into the energy, we're going into the spiritual, because this is all connected to your relationship with food, your confidence, your being, your emotional state. It's all very connected. So I'm so excited that I didn't like really pre-plan a topic and like that this came in because, oh my goodness, I'm having this conversation with so many of my clients anyway. So what we're going to talk about today is emotional eating and being an empath and what energetically fuels emotional eating, because there's energetic things that will fuel our emotional eating. I'm going to talk about what I mean by all of that and how to protect your energy boundaries, because of course, the more we have energetic interference, the more we feel depleted and drained and like we're taking on everyone's stuff and it's overwhelming. And then it's like, oh my God, just give me the chocolate bar, right? That is what we want to shift out of. And I'm going to give some examples of like what it means or what it feels like to take on other people's energy. What does it mean to be an empath if you're new to this? And then we're going to talk a little bit as well about soul contracts, because I found a really incredible Instagram post and it just describes it so good about like our journeys and why we're here and what we're doing. So we're going to have a really powerful conversation about that today. I know I've got lots of sensitive empaths listening. Hello to all of you. I'm sending you so much love. I'm sending love to all of you. And I'm a very sensitive empath. I'm very sensitive, but I see it as a gift because my body's very in tune and I can tell when something's off and then I can tap in. And sometimes it takes some time to figure out what's going on, but sometimes I can figure it out quickly and then give myself whatever I need. So of course, stay tuned for the announcements. All the details from today's show are available at amberapproved.ca/podcast/441. So something really important. And I'll share a few more details as I get them, because this is something that's just come to my attention as a podcaster in Canada. Maybe I'll wait and talk a little bit more about it next week. I'm not really very happy about this and I'm hoping it doesn't stick. But our good old Canadian government, not so good, honestly. I don't want to talk about politics in my podcast, but it's kind of getting personal. And they're wanting to make some, restrictions and things with podcasting in Canada with Spotify and iTunes. So I'll share more details as I have them. I could really go on a rant, but I don't really want to take the energy to do so. So what I can say for now is obviously I'm going to keep doing the podcast regardless of what they decide to do and what kinds of things they decide to push. And in the interim, the best thing you can do to make sure that you get every episode of the podcast, especially if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, is to actually subscribe to my newsletter on my website. I promise I won't spam you. And this brings me into another part of the conversation, which is last week, I'm like, okay, like I really want to, like, the theme for fall going into 2024 that I really want to emit in my business is nurturing. Like I really want to nurture my audience. I feel like I've gone through this massive spurt of creating all these different programs and things, and there will be new things coming in the near. And at the same time, like I really want to nurture all of you. So I'm going to be doing some really cool video and text newsletter content for all of you through the rest of the year. I polled those of you that are on the list last week and got some great feedback on what you want most. What do you want to hear in the podcast? What kind of content do you want in the newsletter? What do you need help with? Feel free to DM me on Instagram or send me an email, info@amberapproved.ca. I want to hear from you because this is all for you. So I'm going to be really providing a lot of nurturing support through my newsletter and of course through social media, especially Instagram, Reels, Stories. I think I'm out of Instagram jail now. My Spud post, it was a green beans, like Spud grocery delivery got flagged for sexual exploitation and I couldn't do Instagram lives for 3 days. Talk about censorship BS, right? I'm like, what the heck? Anyways, so nurturing was the energy and what came through as I start working on this big project that I'm teasing you all about. I'm not going to say anything yet. I'm literally just getting it started, but it's going to blow your minds. I think y'all are going to love it. Some of you might get really triggered, but you'll love it. So come and subscribe to the newsletter to make sure that you get all details and all updates about podcasts, support, content, all kinds of things. I just want to give you the heads up. So you can go to amberproof.ca, scroll down my homepage just a little bit and subscribe to the newsletter, or to make it super easy, I'll put a link to subscribe and sign up for my newsletter in the show notes at amberproof.ca/podcast/441. But please just come and sign up there. I am going to talk more about this whole government podcast and a little bit more, just so you have a better idea whether you're in Canada or not. Because every podcaster in Canada, this is all of us. And I want to make sure that these messages goes out to you. My podcast is one of my favorite things I do in my business, aside from coaching my clients and holding space. So I'll give you more information as that comes up. Like I said, I don't want to get political, but when the government starts trying to interfere with your stuff, it's like, no, go away. Anyways, that's an aside, but I wanted to share that. Come and subscribe. The other thing that I'm really excited about is I want to open up a couple of spots. So we're in October now. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving to my fellow Canadians, sending you all so much love. All the delicious food you may be enjoying this weekend in company and memories, or maybe you're taking it easy and just relaxing, whatever you're doing. I hope you have a nice time. And this can be a very vulnerable time for us because we have more holidays, we have more commitments. Your kids are in like 10 different activities and you're busy running around taking them everywhere. You don't have time to eat dinner. You're exhausted. You're tired. You're unhappy because that scale is going up. And you just went to the store and bought that box of Halloween candy for October 31st, but you've already been into it 3 or 4 times today, grabbing, it's just one, but now half the box is gone. And you're frustrated and you're angry and you're not happy because your rings are fitting tighter on your fingers and you feel more puffy and brain fogged. You get my drift? Like the emotional eating, the binge eating is happening. It may be ramping up and getting worse. And you're dreading thinking about American Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, and all of this, and the stress, the commitments. You're a people pleaser and you feel this obligation, like you have to go and say yes to everything. And you're already dreading how depleted and tired you're going to be in January. And then you're going, oh my God, and then I'm going to have to go on a diet. And you're just like, no, why is this my life? If you can resonate with anything that I'm just saying here, or you resonate with today's episode where we talk more about energy and the empath, then I really encourage you to reach out and book a 30-minute body freedom consultation. You can go to amberproof.ca, and to, sweeten the deal, I've decided that I'm going to do a really beautiful coaching savings on my 6 and 12-month coaching programs. I'll do one spot for 4 months, and then I'll do a couple spots each for 6 and 12 months, because I really want to support you and guide you. And I want to see you go through the rest of the year more grounded, more calm, more at peace, more detached from food, where you could take it or leave it. If you want a little bit, you enjoy it, but then you just move on, and it doesn't end up like spiraling into this big, just feeling like you're falling way off down the mountain, and it takes you weeks or months to get back on with mindful eating. We can work on helping you identify and overcome your emotional eating and binge triggers. I can help walk you through how to set healthy boundaries and how to say no when it's a no, and make sure your schedule stays a little more in order through the holidays. I can support you and your adrenal health and keeping stable energy levels and improving your sleep and reducing those cravings, so that all of that isn't fueling you to gorge and overdo it with all the cakes and baked goods through the holidays, right? And the most beautiful thing is you get to step more into your power. You'll feel less bloated. You feel more connected. You don't have to worry about gaining 20 pounds and then having to deal with it and diet in the new year. You get to start now, and you're going to feel so much better going into 2024. And you will not have to do the dreaded diet and then fail a couple months in and then be like, oh, I'll just wait till next year. Let's not do that anymore. Let's take the steps to make the lifestyle changes. So if you want to secure one of these spots for the coaching savings, $2,000 off of 1 year, $1,000 off of 6 months, $500 off of 4 months, then you can email me, info@amberproof.ca, with the subject line coaching savings, and we can talk about securing your spot. and or booking your body freedom consultation will secure your spot for your savings if you do sign up for a program. So this is going to go for October, and welcome to those of you that know that this is your time, and I'm so excited to support you and connect with you. I actually had a conversation with a client today, and I want to share this because this just gives you like a little snippet. It's like I wish I could like Zoom record each moment and then like share it with you, but obviously it's confidential. But you can watch the video testimonials on the success story page on my website, and that will give you a really nice taste of support. But I connect with the client today. She was in a very invasive, intensive, inhumane job, to be honest. And then she left, and she's been on like a healing journey, and she met up with a coworker that's still in this job. And it was literally, she's like, oh my gosh, Amber, it was like looking in a mirror. That was me a year ago. And this poor woman is very unwell, very ill, and her job is making her sick because the hours are so insane. And my client is like, I am so grateful that I decided to go on this journey because Amber, you helped give me the courage to get out of this job, to learn how to trust myself and my intuition. She's like, my energy is to a level I've never felt before. She's not binging at all and hasn't for months. She's now aware of what her body feels like and what her symptoms feel like. And she's tapped in. She knows what feeling rested versus not feels like. She knows what emotional versus hunger, physical hunger is. She knows when her adrenals are stressing her out and when they're not. It's like she's like, I was just unrecognizable to myself. And now with the courage of reaching out and getting the support, she's like in a whole different place. She's starting a beautiful business and doing all these incredible things because she had the courage to take the first step and book a consultation and chat. So this is the life-changing support that you get to, come into. I welcome you if you feel called. And thank you for listening to my bit longer intro. I just wanted to give you a heads up about some of the things going on. So sign up for the newsletter, book a body freedom consultation, or you can inquire about the coaching savings. And without further ado, let's get into today. So let's talk a little bit about emotional eating and being an empath. So a lot of my clients don't realize they're an empath until we start working together. Some know already. Some of you may know, some of you may not. But what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about what being an empath is. And then we're going to talk about how emotional eating and empathy, like being an empath when we don't know how to manage it, which we're going to talk more about today, can trigger emotional eating. And we don't want that. We want to embrace our sensitivity, but we want to know how to lovingly protect it and have good boundaries. So first, let's talk a little bit about some signs that you're an empath. So the first sign can be that you have a lot of empathy for others. Say one of your friends like had a dog pass away, or a friend, or something happen, and you really feel like it's like you feel their pain. You feel so deeply for them. But as an empath, when we don't know how to manage the energy, we can actually feel and sense the other person's emotion as if it's part of your own experience. And then you can take it on, and maybe you're having a really good day, and then your friend told you what happened. And now all of a sudden you're almost in tears, you're crying, you're sad, you're grieving for the rest of the day. And I think it's okay to like feel for people. And at the same time, we don't want to be taking on their stuff and then going from like flowing and happy and grounded to all of a sudden sad or overwhelmed or in fear because someone told us some kind of fear porn or some really fearful thing. And now you're like, oh my gosh, right? And then you're like, where's the ice cream? I need to numb out, right? We don't want to do that. But that's an example, right? So you're taking on someone else's pain, and you're making it your pain, your problem, when it's not your responsibility. So for some people who are empaths, close contact can feel difficult with friends, family members, colleagues, coworkers who are not on the same page. So like, for example, sometimes when I go out in public to the grocery store, the energy is really intense, and it's no one's fault, but I'm engaging with a lot of different energies as I pick things up. And I don't know like what kind of emotions or circumstances or things these people are going through. So I just try to have love and compassion. But sometimes I walk by people and I just like feel their rage. I feel their grief. I feel their despair. And then it can be easy. It's called emotional residue. Everyone emits emotion, and that residue is emitted from their energy field, and it can land in yours. And then you can all of a sudden feel it as well. So we can, really be impacted by that. And that can lead, and or maybe you have a friend, and when they leave, you feel overwhelmed, you feel drained, you feel tired, you feel stressed. And that all then carries on, and then you feel that for the rest of the day or a few days. But oftentimes it leaves us feeling lower, more drained, more tired, overwhelmed, anxious, lower moods, lower frequencies. And it's in those kind of states when we're feeling lower frequency, lower vibe, lower mood, that then we want to reach for that quick little dopamine high to lift us up, but it doesn't really, and it's just a self-sabotage. Empaths have really powerful intuitions. We all have powerful intuitions, but it's just that sometimes when we're in deep self-sabotage and we're overwhelmed and stressed and overbooked and frazzled, it's very hard to tap into our intuition. It strengthens when we do the deeper work. I have a client, and one of her goals for when we started working together a year ago was she wanted to be able to reconnect with her intuition. And through overcoming binge eating, building a beautiful self-care practice, working a lot on that ego mindset, right? Starting to build this nurturing, self-loving relationship with herself. She is so tapped into her intuition again, so reconnected with it, and it's incredible. So if you have that strong gut feeling, that strong gut reaction, when something feels really good or feels really off, that's your intuition, right? It lives in the heart, lives in that beautiful heart space. Maybe you can tell when someone's lying, right? This is your intuition. So empaths are very good at picking up on subtle cues when something is off or someone is off. And it can provide us with insight into how to navigate life when we're making decisions, all kinds of different things. So I think it's important, that we put a lot of faith into our instincts because they don't lie. Your intuition was forged out of love. It's the mind that gets programmed into analytical, critical, negative, self-talk, etc. So trusting your intuition is truly the way. You take comfort in nature. So empaths really, nature time, outside time is so important. Because nature is the perfect frequency of love and emits the frequency of love, and it really realigns and calibrates us. It's very grounding, it's very calming, and it's very rejuvenating. I think we should all spend more time in nature anyway. Usually empaths may not totally thrive in really crowded places. I know my hubby and I, like when we go, my dad and my hubby and I, we went to a car event earlier this year, and all three of us are like sensitive empaths, and we left and we're like, oh my gosh, we're drained. Like so much energy, right? And yeah, that's the vibe. Empaths can absorb positive and negative energy by being in these crowded presence, and there's all kinds of people, all kinds of energies floating around. And so I personally don't care to spend tons of time in really big crowded settings. It's just not my vibe, and that's okay. I'm totally okay with it. Some people like it, I don't. And I'll go out in certain things, but then I do feel like drained afterward. Another sign you're an empath, and this is where we want to start setting boundaries, is you have a hard time not caring, right? An empath doesn't just feel for someone, they feel with someone. I feel for this person, I feel with them. So I feel for this person, I feel that for them, but that they're sad. And I'm also feeling, now I'm starting to feel the sadness because I'm taking it on, and it's not mine, not mine, not mine. How do I not take it on? And I used to do this with my mom. For many of you who've been on this journey with me for a while, my mom had multiple sclerosis for my whole life, and she passed a couple of years ago. And when I would go home to visit, I would just take on all of her grief, all of her fear, all of her sadness, and have my own. And it would take weeks sometimes for me to clear all that out after going to visit. And it wasn't her fault. It was very intense to feel all of that and to take all of that on. And I didn't know how to not. As well, when, we're an empath, we want to help, we want to fix people, we want them to be happy. We don't want people to be sad. I just want you to be happy, because if you're sad, I'm sad. And we don't have that kind of codependency with anybody. Yes, people can be sad. We can hold our light, shine our light, have compassion and love for them, but it doesn't mean we have to now, drown ourselves out and dampen our own mood. We don't want to do that, right? But we can get into that habit, and it becomes part of our being. And then we're wondering why we're feeling down when we don't have to, unless it's our own stuff, right? But you're absorbing others' stuff, okay? And this can essentially give you compassion fatigue and burnout, and totally burn out your nervous system, make you feel very fatigued. And of course, this can fuel blood sugar issues, cravings, more sensitive digestion, emotional eating, inflammation, puffiness, weight gain. Because if you're trying to hold a lot of space for a lot of people and you're trying to be there for everyone else, you are holding a lot of space for a lot of people. And that can make your nervous system feel overwhelmed, and you subconsciously to not feel safe. And then you can hang on to a lot of weight because you're holding a lot of space. So for some of my clients, what helps them release the weight is actually learning how to set healthy, energetic boundaries and emotional boundaries. And then their body feels safe enough and they can release. Okay. Another sign you're an empath is naturally people will come to you to tell you their problems, even if you don't like really invite them in. Okay. And I think, you know what? We're all going to have a time and space where we listen to others and we provide advice or just a space to listen and lend an ear. But I find people who are an empath, like people just are naturally going to flock to you. Like my hubby, he builds and does custom fabricated car parts for like Mustang Cobras and all these different cars. Like he is not a counselor or a therapist, but yet he's like, yeah, like people will just come up to me and start talking to me and like telling me all of their problems. It's because he's an empath. Like he doesn't say, hey, how are you? Tell me how you're doing. And like, maybe I can help. Like literally they're talking about cars. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, this thing. Right. And obviously naturally being the work that I do, like I'm in a space where I'm welcoming people to tell me what's going on for them. But I'll find with like friends and family as well, like it's just naturally they feel more comfortable coming in because there's this safe energy, this safe space. It's like people can feel it. And at the same time, we also want to have healthy boundaries so that we're not just like a full-time, right? Like therapist, counselor, you know, and then we have no capacity left. And that's something else that I had to learn is like, okay, I can only handle so much holding space. And then if someone calls me in distress, I'm going to have to set a boundary and we're going to have to talk about it later. Or maybe we just have a quick text and I'll call you tomorrow because like I don't have any more capacity. Because if I take on your stuff now, I'm totally going to binge. It's like we only have so much capacity to take stuff on or to hold space. And eventually we just get so overwhelmed that then we just want to numb out, check out, and suppress our empath intuition. And that's where the emotional eating comes in. Empaths as well, you know, sometimes we can struggle with setting boundaries, have a lot of unchecked kindness, and, you know, really can be the dumping ground for people to dump all their stuff. And this is where it's so important for us to deal with the ego mindset, the people pleasing, the proving, and building self-love and worthiness, because we really want to take our power back and go, no, like I'm not going to be the dumping ground. I don't deserve that. You don't deserve that. I wouldn't do that to you. Right. And to also like stand in our power. And yes, we can be loving and respectful, but to not be walked all over. You know, when I was very insecure, I was definitely more vulnerable to being manipulated. And this can be another sign of being an empath that doesn't know how to manage their energy. So we want to learn how to stand in our power and not tolerate that kind of thing. You know, I know your desire to help people comes from such a good place, but if it's leaving you in distress and it's causing you suffering, then that is not good for you, right? So I know you want to offer support and help, but it's important to remember sometimes you can't do a lot for the person, especially if they don't want to change. So if like you have a friend or a family member or somebody that's constantly coming to you with the same stuff, but they're actually not doing anything and they're just complaining and they're the victim and they're poor me, but they're not doing anything, at some point we might have to set the boundary and complete the relationship or distance ourselves because you can't help someone that isn't ready. It's like those of you listening to the podcast. Some of you are going to come forth and you're going to come in and sign up for coaching and you're going to take advantage of the coaching savings or come into a masterclass because you're like, oh, this is the sign I needed. And now I'm coming in. And for some of you, you're like, I'm not ready yet. And that's fine. I'm not here to force you or make you ready. You're going to know when that is. And the door is open and arms are wide open and welcome when it is. And in the meantime, if you're here listening to the podcast, amazing. I'm so glad that you're here. But it's to let go because you can't force anyone to be ready. Right? It's like my mom. I couldn't force her to want to help herself. That was up to her and she didn't want to. There's nothing I could do about it. Right? Here's my one that made me laugh. I have the most sensitive sense of smell. Like I can smell anything. So if you have high sensitivity to sounds, smells, or sensations, signs of being an empath, we have increased sensitivity, not just to emotions, but our 5 senses, as well as to sound, sensations, to feeling frequencies, feeling the collective energy. We are very sensitive. Okay. And that also means that fragrances and odors are going to affect us more, and they're full of poison anyway. So we should reduce the amount of intake and smelling of those anyway, right? Certain sounds or physical sensations may affect you more strongly. Like when we had the really noisy neighbors and it drove me insane. I feel like more than the average person because I'm a sensitive empath. Maybe you prefer to listen to certain things at lower volumes, or read more versus like audible because it just feels more grounding for you. And certain sounds may trigger more of a heightened emotional response within you. So there is this senses, this more sensitive to the senses. Also, you need time to recharge and you take it and you see the value in it. It's so important because if you're always giving and you don't take the time, you're going to end up with burnout. You're going to end up with high cortisol and all these things that I'm always talking about. We don't want that. And if you're already in that, well, let's take the steps to get you out of that and moving forward, right? It's so important. And needing time alone for self-care or to be quiet and relax, it's not a bad thing. It's important. I value my time where I'm in self-care practice, my meditation, nature, right? Like that is so important. And then I absolutely value and love my time where I'm connecting with my love. And it's so important to have that time to just recharge and disconnect and go inward and connect with yourself. So sometimes we get into circumstances where we're an empath and other people can energize us. And usually that's where we're on in the same frequency. Another is you don't like conflict, and that's where the people pleasing can come in. So if you're an empath, you might dread conflict, but this is where we want to like realize we can't control others and circumstances, and all we can do is show up in our power. And if someone gets really upset or triggered, well, sometimes we go through uncomfortable, difficult situations and we can get to the other side, right? And learning how to manage our ego will really help us with that. This one I felt when I was growing up. I didn't really feel like I felt like I fit in. And I am totally okay with that. I'm happy to be the woo and the tinfoil hat wearer and very spiritual and energetic. I'm happy about that. That's part of what makes me who I am. And I don't push it on anybody. And I embrace others for their uniqueness. And I'm like, it's okay that I feel different because we all are. And it's something that's really powerful to embrace. You struggle to set boundaries as an empath. You see the world in different ways. Maybe you awaken to certain things differently than others do. And sometimes you may find it hard to cope with sensory overload. Like there's so much going on and you're just like, oh my goodness, there's so much going on. I can feel the collective. I feel my family. I feel things in my business. I can feel everyone on the app of Instagram when I go on it, right? And so it's like self-care practices and healthy boundaries are going to really, really help you in those cases. So that gives you an idea of being an empath. So let's go into the rest. Why and how is this connected to emotional eating? Well, as you've heard me talk about over the first part of this podcast, when you're stressed and you're overwhelmed and you're taking on other people's stuff and you're fearing conflict and you're not setting boundaries and you're letting people walk all over you and you're overbooked because you have to people please and make sure everyone else is taken care of, these are all empath things that push you to the point of wanting to emotionally eat and use food to soothe because you get upset, you get overwhelmed, you get drained. And when we're in a state of fatigue, when we're in a state of overwhelm, anger, frustration, sadness, grief, right? If we don't feel comfortable feeling that and we don't want to feel it, we will go into self-sabotage. We will eat to soothe, numb, distract, shove down what we're feeling. So being an empath, if we don't know how to manage it, can be a massive emotional eating trigger. So grab a journal. Which notes that I just talked about, traits of being an empath, can you resonate with? Are you an empath? Did you already know you were? Maybe now you know that you do. Maybe this provides you another piece of your puzzle to clarity as to why you're struggling with emotional eating. In the Triggers 3-part masterclass, which we go deep into emotional and physical emotional eating triggers, I talk in depth about being an empath and being triggered. And a lot of people had a big aha moment with that because it's true. Like being sensitive to energy is an emotion, if you don't know how to manage it, will push you to desire to chase that dopamine high to get that relief, that reward. So that's the first part. Okay. So being an empath can trigger it if you don't know how to manage your energy. So let's talk about what energetically fuels emotional eating. So when you feel ungrounded, when you're really in your head and your energy is not so much in your heart or in your lower 3 chakras, like below your belly button, but you're instead really in your head. You feel scattered and frazzled. Okay. Your energy is not in a grounded space. So that means you feel more overwhelmed, more anxious, more stressed, tired, frazzled, scattered. And when we're in that kind of a state and our energy is like kind of up and out of us, okay, we will think that, oh, well, if I eat, it'll ground me, even though it doesn't really. Like when we're self-sabotaging, it just lowers our frequency more. When we are emotionally eating, we are lowering our frequency. So we all vibrate at different frequencies. We're all full of energy. We can vibrate at heavier, lower frequencies like fear, worry, angry, hatred, frustration. We can vibrate at higher frequencies like joy, peace, happiness, trust, enlightenment, right? Gratitude. They feel lighter. And we're going to contrast and we're going to vibrate a bit higher sometimes and lower sometimes. But if you're an empath and you're constantly taking on people's stuff and it's heavy and it's negative, your frequency is going to be lower more often. And energetically, when we're in a lower frequency, that's when we are more apt to go into self-sabotaging behaviors like emotional eating, drinking more. That's why when you drink, you want to go and eat all the food, because number one, your discretion is skewed. And when you're in a lower frequency, you want to keep the low frequency behaviors like self-sabotage keeps snowballing. So for some people, they'll emotionally eat and then they'll feel lonely, and then they'll like call an ex and like get themselves into a circumstance that just makes them feel worse. Or they'll emotionally eat and then they'll be like stressed about money, but then they'll go to the store and buy a bunch of clothes and put it on their credit card and then be like so overwhelmed and anxious and stressed about how they're going to pay it off. Maybe you end up emotionally eating and then you like project on your whole family, and then you just feel so guilty that you took all your stuff out on everyone else, right? So one self-sabotaging behavior that pushes us into a low frequency often will fuel more if we are not aware of all of that. And then it just fuels more self-sabotage, more anger, frustration, sadness, disappointment, despair, hopelessness. Doesn't feel good at all. And then we can get into lower moods and we can feel like we're in the gutter and like we're in a rut. And part of that is because if we're constantly repeating the same patterns of emotionally eating, binge eating, restriction, diets, negative self-talk, unhappy with our weight, we were feeling unworthy, and we're in these negative self-talks and we're constantly focusing on negative and affirming negative, we are going to be vibrating at a lower level. And we're going to be attracting more things into our life that we don't want, because you are the source of your life and your abundance and your path. And your thoughts set up, I'm going to really repeat this. Your thoughts set up the model of what is to be created in your life, and your emotions energize your thoughts and propel them from inner to outer world. I'm going to read that once more. Your thoughts set up the model of what is to be created, and emotions energize your thoughts and propel them from your inner world to your outer world. Energy follows thought. So whatever thoughts you're thinking, okay, when you amplify them with fear and worry and lack and guilt and all these negative emotions, you often attract more of what you don't want. And you're like, see, I told you that was going to happen. Well, because you created it. Versus when we infuse our thoughts with love and trust and faith and gratitude, we'll often attract more of what we don't want. And we'll go back and forth and attract a bit of each. However, there's an opportunity for you to master realizing that you're the creator of your world, and that it's like up to you. That's been like one of my biggest focuses and pieces of work this year, is really owning and taking responsibility that like I'm the creator of my reality. And if there's something that I'm not happy with, like it's for me to own, not to blame, for me to own though, and go, okay, how do I want to shift this? This is on me. I'm not blaming anyone else. I'm not blaming the world. Like this is for me to own. And it means taking responsibility to do so. However, it's liberating. You heal more, you feel more free, more grounded, more empowered in your own power. And to me, that is everything. And the more I learn and heal, the more I can teach you. So it's like a win-win for everybody, right? So like I talked about earlier, there's something called emotional residue. So and we don't have to be in the same space as other people, but when you go out in public and you're like the mall, okay, here's the lowest frequency places we can hang out. And it's okay if you like these places, that's fine. Maybe it doesn't affect you. The mall, airports, bars and clubs, and what was the other one? Like these are the venues where the lowest frequencies had. And I don't know, like hubby and I had to go to the mall like a year and a half ago and get him a new phone, and we were drained afterward. We're just like, this is why we don't come here. But yeah, so we can go into these places, and it can be anywhere, not just these places. You go to a family member's house, a friend's house, and if they're stressed or they're really like overwhelmed by something or really upset about something, we all emit a frequency. And so their anger, frustration, sadness invisibly is floating from their field because they're emitting the signal and the frequency, and it lands in your field. And then you get home and you're like, why am I angry? Why am I frustrated? Where did this sadness come from? This isn't even mine. It's because you've taken on emotional residue from others. Okay. And we can emit emotional residue. Well, we do, and others can feel it. Okay. So this can fuel emotional eating, because if you're taking on a bunch of emotional residue and you don't know that's what it is, and you just are like baffled as to why you went from feeling happy or at peace to whatever the negative emotions are, overwhelm, stress, etc., you may have taken on emotional residue. Empaths can also really feel and take on the energy of the collective. So as an example, the other day when I think it was Sunday, Sunday, I felt really anxious. I felt really like, ugh, why am I feeling this? This doesn't even feel like it's mine. Now I ask myself, I'm like, is this stress mine? Is this lack feel like it's mine? This anxiousness, this fear, whatever I'm feeling right now, it just doesn't feel like it's mine. So I ask my intuition and I get a yes or no. If I'm not sure, I have a pendulum and I will ask and it will give me a yes or no. But usually now I can just feel it. It's just practicing feeling your intuition, feeling, does it feel like more expanded or contracted in your heart? And I was like, ooh, this isn't mine. And I didn't yet know what was going on that was making me feel like this. And then later that day, I go on Instagram and a girl that I follow starts talking about this bill C11, this censorship bill here in Canada. And I'm like, no wonder I'm feeling this because I'm literally feeling the collective energy and all the stuff about this and the ridiculousness here. Anyways, so once I was clear that it wasn't mine, and then obviously I like found out why I was feeling what I was, I went and did and used my tools, my sacred rage and beating at my pillow and my tapping and my different things, and then I cleared it out. So we can take on the collective energy over the last 3.5 years, like, and as we ascend, as we increase in frequency, the more we heal, the more sensitive we get. But it's a good thing. We're supposed to be sensitive. We're not supposed to be numbed out and out of tune and out of sync with ourselves, our physical symptoms, our emotions, our energy, and our intuition. We're supposed to be tapped in. We have been numbed down by all these poisons and chemicals and processed foods and negative frequencies and negative content, all kinds of different things have like numbed us down. And we're powerful for being here and for being able to clear it out. But it's a lot. So this is why if you're being hard on yourself because you're still emotionally eating, but you're an empath, like, please have compassion, love, and understanding. It's not you. It's not your fault. Like, we have not been taught and educated on how to navigate being an empath, but that's why I'm here and I'm going to help you out with that. So stay tuned. But there are like circumstances that have happened in the last 3.5 years where there would be days where I would feel such intense collective energy. The last most memorable one would have been end of May when we had our provincial election. Like when there's political things going on, when there's like, stuff like mandates and all that stuff was going on, like I could feel the collective energy like get so heavy and so dense. When we have full moons, like we just had a full moon last week, the harvest moon. Okay. I felt so much anxiousness and anger and frustration and fear come up within me. And I'm like, oh my God, what? Like, but I just had a great week and everything's so good. And I'm so excited for Thanksgiving. And why am I feeling all of this? Like, there's no reason why I should be feeling any of this. And I'm like, Amber, like, it's okay. You're okay. You're feeling this discomfort, but you're safe. Like, is this current, like now, or is this old fear, anxiousness, worry, lack that's actually been stuck energy in your body that's now kind of coming up for releasing? Because full moons are all about releasing. And oftentimes we'll feel heightened emotional states, maybe more negative, intensive emotions, because we're literally releasing that which no longer serves us. And then when I took a bit of time and I meditated and I really tapped in, I was like, this is not from now. This is literally being released from the past. And a couple of days after the full moon was over and after I processed through the collective energy Sunday, I feel so calm again. Right. And I'm like, yeah, I love sitting in this place where it's like, it's calm, it's peace, I'm happy, I'm chipper, I'm excited. And then of course the next like energy thing hits or the next collective thing hits or whatever. And it's like, well, this is why we came here, to grow, to evolve, to learn and expand. Yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, being a human can be a lot, but my soul signed up for this. I signed up for this experience, and we're clearing a lot of stuff out. And if you haven't listened to the Ascension episode I've done yet, go and listen to that because this also has to do with that. And I'll probably do an update on that again soon. But that's all part of this. Like, we're here to evolve and grow. Earth is the hardest, most difficult school to come and learn at, but we pick it because we evolve, we clear karma, right? All kinds of things. It's very powerful if you believe in that. I know I do, and I see a lot of proof of it. So how do we protect ourselves? How do we protect our energy boundaries? Okay. So I'm going to give you some tips. But number one, I think it's so important to get support to deal with overcoming the binge eating and the emotional eating. Get support to overcome the people pleasing and learn how to manage your ego mentality. Get support to build your worth. If you've been struggling with this for years or decades and you're still going through the cycle and you have the means to get support, get support. It's going to help you fast track. It's going to help provide you with the space to be held and supported, to be encouraged, to be uplifted when you struggle or something doesn't go right. You're going to be provided with the tools and the recommendations and the encouragement to help you step more into your power, build the self-love, the self-connection, become attuned to your intuition again, and set these healthy boundaries, identify your triggers and overcome them, deal with the hormone and gut issues that are also messing with your mood and your energy, right? All of that and more. So get support is the first. The coaching savings is available. amberproof.ca/amberproof.ca, click schedule consultation. If it's someone else you want to reach out to, do that. It's like whatever your path is, but take that first step. It's going to change your life forever. And I'm going to tell you, because I know this, and I come from a place of love, and being a sensitive empath and being able to feel the energy and observing lovingly this ascension and this up level going on the planet, it's going to be loud for the next while. And it might stay really intense. And so having support and having tools to deal with all of that through this next year, 2, 3 years is going to be really vital. Because if I was the me 14 years ago now, I'd be a basket case and I'd be binge eating every day and I'd be a mess. But I'm not, because I did that work and healing. And now I have the tools, and now I have my most valuable asset, which is my intuition. And I trust that more than anything else, right? So get support, welcome, reach out. Let's have a conversation. I'd love to hear from you and what you're struggling with and how I could potentially support you to get where you want to go. Okay. Let's do some healing, miracle, amazing work together. Secondly, so I'm going to give a couple suggestions. So if you're open to this, before you leave the house, close your eyes and envision putting yourself into a 360-degree protective bubble of whatever color you want, or whatever it is for you, right? Energy protection. That is so important. Also, when you get home, you may want a sage. You can get an aura spray or a sage spray, or you can burn sage to clear your energy field. Taking a sea salt bath. The mineral salts help to clear your energy field and intend as the water is going down the drain that you're clearing and letting go of anything that doesn't serve you. This is important for energy management. Essential oils are great. Certain crystals like rose quartz is great for self-love. Selenite's great for clearing. Black quartz and, oh my goodness, what's the one that I'm wearing? I'm having a brain fart. Oh my goodness. Black quartz is amazing for protecting your energy and making sure you don't take on anyone else's negative energy and that they can't take your good energy. So I highly suggest getting a ring or a necklace or a bracelet that you can wear, and that could be really helpful. You can also affirm that when someone's talking to you and they're complaining and you feel yourself starting to take it on, just say in your mind, like, I'm not taking that on. That's not mine. I'm not taking it on. Or maybe when you get home, you sage, you shake, you take the bath, right? But these are all things that can help us. I have a very robust energy clearing practice that I do at least a few days a week, especially if I'm starting to feel like, it feels lots of energies that aren't mine. So if you want to be taught how to clear energy, I can teach you that as well. There's a lot we can do there, but those are just some examples. One other key thing, setting healthy boundaries. It's so important that we learn how to say no, that we learn how to recognize when we've reached our max, and to not continue to let everyone dump all their stuff on us and hold space when we're already maxed out. And we know if we take on holding space for one more person in our personal life or our work or whatever, it's going to trigger you to binge or trigger you into worse burnout. Okay. It's so important. Setting healthy boundaries. And if you're like, I'm too afraid, get support to set healthy boundaries. Have a loving support to also hold you accountable. And it's not, oh, shame on you if you didn't do it, but it's like, let's talk about why you're hesitant and why you can and why you should believe in yourself and why I'm here cheering you on too. It's like you get to have a cheerleader with you every step of the way that also, helps you call out that darn ego that just wants you to, stay in self-sabotage and not change. Okay. Self-care practices, nature, meditation, Epsom salt baths, breath, tapping. This is where the Body Freedom membership comes in. So all my one-on-one clients, 4 and 6 month programs, 4, 6, 12 month programs, get free access to the Body Freedom membership for your term together. Okay. If you want to just come and start with the Body Freedom membership, we do all kinds of meditations, visualizations, inner child work, tapping, breath, journal prompts, all kinds of things to help you get grounded, tap into that intuition, let go of all the stuff that isn't yours. Okay. So there's lots available for you there. So those are some ways you can protect your energy. And what I want to leave you with, something that I think is just going to be a nice message for you. So you may say, why is it so hard? Why do we come here? Like, why would my soul pick binge eating? Why would my soul pick to go through these struggles, these traumas, et cetera, et cetera? Well, number one, you can go and watch Dolores Cannon on YouTube, and she talks a lot about souls and soul contracts. But I wanted to read this to you as we wrap up today, because it just was like, this is the best description I've ever seen about talking about what a soul contract is. So we all have one. We're a soul in a human body having this human experience. But a soul contract is a blueprint of the human life your soul will live on planet Earth. We not only make this agreement with our soul family, but also with our spirit guides and higher selves, as it determines what we will do as humans, what lessons, emotions, activities, and relationships we will experience while we are in the physical realm. We make contracts with one or multiple souls that are part of our soul group or oversoul. This agreement, which focuses on our experiences, decisions, and life events, is made before we are born and is formed with the other souls who will eventually be born as our family, friends, and loved ones. Every soul contract is created through love, but it may manifest in your reality as negative and painful, because negative and painful experiences help in growth of our soul. Hence me eating out of a garbage can at the time. I'm like, why the hell is this happening? Well, this is why, because evolution, look at where I am now. Look at where you get to be now. All the challenges we face during our human life that help us learn crucial lessons and support our soul's journey are pre-planned during these agreements. These contracts are things that you agree to experience for the sake of learning and karmic balancing, such as painful relationships, having children, walk-in experiences, near-death experiences, or having a great impact on someone's life and then exiting as quickly as you entered. In between these experiences, you have free will to do as you please, and in certain cases, you can even rewrite your soul contracts. Everyone you meet is either a blessing or a lesson. We are all players in a divine plan. Certain people come into your life to help you fulfill your soul's contract and teach what you are here to learn. Oh my goodness, I absolutely loved that when I heard it. So I'll leave you with that. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I'm sending you all so much love. Subscribe to the newsletter. Make sure you're on there, because that's the easiest, best way to get connected in case, like, even if Instagram went down or something, like, make sure you're on the newsletter so that you're still able to find me. amberproof.ca/podcast/441 is where the show notes are that you can easily subscribe. You can also go to amberproof.ca, take the free emotional eating quiz if you're wondering if you're struggling, and book your 30-minute body freedom consultation. So I'm sending you all so much love, beautiful souls. Remember, you're here to learn your lessons. Try to protect your energy a little more. It's a gift to be an empath. We just want to learn how to manage it. I'm sending you so much love. I'm cheering you on. There's no better time than the present to take action on your health, your healing, managing being an empath. So take action now. Have a beautiful day. Happy Thanksgiving again to my beautiful Canadian family. And I will look forward to connecting with you again next week for a whole new episode. Take care.